So I'm going to just ask you a couple of questions, but I'll try and do them quick fire.
Go for it.
Because these are people who are who are patrons for the Late Break Show, which are lovely. A chap called Andrew Robinson. Is Ant still in touch with Phil Glenister from The Love of Cars?
Yes, we text regularly. I last spoke to him 2 weeks ago. In fact, his friend Paul Medicine stayed at my house 4 weeks ago because of Phil.
Oh, brilliant. It was great to meet them both whilst filming the Air Cooled show. Drove my buggy around Rockingham Circuit. Apparently.
I remember the guy, I know who it is, and I remember the buggy. We had great fun in it, arms in the air.
Yeah, okay. David Mayburn, what does Ant find as the main difference between car cultures in America and the UK?
There's a bigger volume in America, and I think because I live in California, there is something every weekend. There's a Cars and Coffee every weekend without fail, whereas in England there's not. And the Cars and Coffee is so welcoming to all genres. So I think there's still a bit of a clique in the UK. Car clubs generally flock together, but in America you can have a Mini next to a 250 GTA.
Yeah, and I really love that when there's no boundaries, there's no elitism. Noel Huggett. Ant Anstead, what a scoop, lovely guy. Was he ever tempted to purchase any of the cars that he restored in the various programmes that he was in, both this side and the t'other side of the pond?
Absolutely. I tried to buy one of the For Love of Cars, but I was contractually bound not to.
Oh, which one?
Land Rover.
Was it? You've got a thing for old Land Rovers, haven't you?
Love them.
Mike Barrett, not exactly a question, but I'd like to know more about what made him quit the police and pursue a career in the old automotive world. It seemed like quite a jump of faith.
No, in fact, it was the opposite. I was always doing cars. I only joined the police because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Okay. So I was 18 and a half. I never even told my parents I joined the police till the day before going to police college. In 2005, it was on the back of getting injured. Yeah. Having a child, and then realising we're all dying.
I suppose, and becoming a parent moment does make you go, right.
Yeah, I was an armed copper at like 23.
Yeah.
I have 2 commendations for bravery,
which
means stupidity.
Does it?
Yeah, if you do brave stuff, in reflection, it's stupid stuff.
What, because you
should never put yourself in that position.
No. Wow. Do you have any sort of repercussions of any of those things?
Sometimes, yeah. I had when I went through my divorce in America, it's the first time I ever went to see someone and talk about my feelings. And a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it healthy?
It was afterwards. At the time, it was really, it was hard. You know, I've done 4 CPRs. My last CPR was a 16-year-old. I've been to suicides, shootings, hangings.
Yeah.
And we as a Western culture have a very unsavory relationship with death. We celebrate life, like a baby's born, everyone's like, oh, was it way? What do you have? For every baby that's born, someone dies. So as a police officer, you'll be surprised how often you deal with death. Because of course people are dying every day.
Yeah.
And normally they're just, they're old and they die in their home.
Yeah.
But I've been into, I went to a hanging in a graveyard at night on my own once.
Gosh, that's heavy.
I was the 3rd officer at the Potters Bar rail crash.
Were you?
Yeah.
That was massive.
That was a big thing, yeah. So, and that kind of stuff. And I joined in 99 and early 2000s when, it was bizarre to me that, the police never really talked about it. In fact, it was almost like, get on with it.
Yeah.
There was this kind of faux macho attitude towards mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first time I thought, I'm going to go chat to someone, and I did. And we talked about everything, but a lot of police stuff came up.
Really?
Yeah, it was good, it was helpful.
And is it something that you'd recommend to other people?
Absolutely.
Because I think as men, we think about doing it, but we don't do it a lot.
We don't, and particularly culturally, and it's interesting because generationally it's getting easier. Like our dads would have found it harder than their dads, even harder. Yeah. So ultimately, and I'm raising 2 boys, and it's super important to have a dialogue with. I mean, the relationship I have with Archie in particular is really, really healthy, and we talk about stuff. Yeah. We currently, this country has a problem with suicide. Like, it does. And, biggest killer of men under 40 is suicide.
I cannot believe that. It's amazing.
And ultimately, it needs to be addressed, it needs to be talked about, it needs to be handled. And, there's, I've been to many suicides.
Gosh.
And I've been on bridges where people haven't done it. And it's so, we could spend another 2 hours talking about that.
Bloody hell.
So, yeah. Talk. It's good.
Talk is good. You're absolutely right. Owen Kelly says, what, apart from his kids, does he miss most about living in the UK? Is it brown sauce or tea?
America lacks custard.
Custard?
I'm telling you.
Does it?
That's the real pandemic. America.
Custard.
Okay, do you know what? When you try and explain custard to Americans, it's a funny conversation. Because I literally, every restaurant I go in, I'm like, do you have custard? And they're like, well, in America it's called pudding.
Just called pudding?
So you can buy pudding in a tub, like a yogurt pot.
Yeah.
Which is kind of custard. It's not fully custard. But you have to, I would say in LA it's easier to buy heroin than it is to buy custard. You have to go to like a dedicated British store. Also,
how odd.
My favourite food is curry. I love curry. Yeah. Curry is my favourite food, hands down.
Yeah.
And America generally doesn't do good curry. But when you find one, and Renee makes the best curry.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I know, yeah. So she and me are big curry lovers.
That is good. Fantastic answer. That was not expecting that answer. Where is the original MG-based Alpha F1 car now that was used in the TV series?
So I sold the car at Barrett Jackson auction.
Yeah.
Because I bought an aeroplane.
Right.
And it was bought by The Vault, which is a car collector in Arizona, Scottsdale.
Interesting.
And funnily enough, he brought it to Monterey, to Laguna Seca, and lapped it around with the Radford.
Did he?
It's a cool car. It's a really cool car.
Aeroplane.
Yeah, I've really got into flying because of Tanner Faust.
Oh, really?
Freaking Tanner. He got me into flying. So
I saw he took you up in a plane and you took
me up
some videos.
once.
Yeah.
Bitten.
And you were like...
I'm obsessed with aviation at the moment.
Are you?
Yeah, so I've got a Vans RV14, which is a 2-seater single propeller kit plane.
Yeah.
Which, funnily enough, I had to move Monday before I flew. So, and I'll show you that.
When you say move, fly it somewhere or push it?
No, I'm building it. This will make you laugh because in fact, you'll see it here next to it's my Land Rover.
Yeah.
It's my bikes. There's my propeller.
Oh, so it is just a big kit?
But wait, there's a wing.
Wow.
And then there's the box of all the bits and pieces is about to come in, and then the fuselage, and it's a great build because it's a combination of aluminium and composites. Okay. So it's super lightweight. It's about 250 mile an hour plane.
That's fast.
In plane terms, it's not. It's considered an aerobatic plane.
Okay.
It's super light. Yeah, there's the fuselage.
Bloody hell.
And I've been learning now to I've been into the aviation world for about a year. So that's the reason I sold it.
It's an expensive world, Ant.
Actually, I'm going to break the mold on that, as you will find out very soon.
Oh.
What could I possibly be doing?
Okay. His other question is, has Ant ever been offered any movie roles?
Yes.
Have you?
Yes. In fact, I was offered a role the first year I moved to America, and it was to play a British sort of SAS officer so the film's about the Navy SEALs, and they're trying to track down a British terrorist. And it's a funny story because back then I had an agent, and in fact I still have an agent, Debbie, but I'm like the worst person to be an agent for because I say no to everything.
Right.
So she technically is still my agent, but she's like, oh.
She's given up with you, is what you're
She'll
saying.
check in once a month, go, how you doing? Oh, I'm great.
Really?
So Debbie got a call from, and I thought it was Mike Brewer pranking me. Because seriously, I just moved to America, and there's this picture that was out when I started dating Christina. It became quite high-profile news.
Yeah.
And somebody had put a picture out, and I used to be a member of the tactical firearms team. So I was in like combat overalls with a machine gun and a sidearm and a tactical vest, and I looked like an SAS officer. And then Debbie phones me up one day and says, really, really wild, you've had some approach to be in this show, this movie. And I'm like, fuck, it's Mike Brewer. And she's like, all right, well, they want to call like Wednesday. And I'm sat in my car on speakerphone in the car park of the Wheeler Dealer Workshop, side texting Debbie going, this is a very elaborate prank. Because on the call, I've got like 5 or 6 people going, right, well, this is the storyline, and we saw this picture of you, and it's like, we want a British guy, and it's really authentic, and we'd love it would just be a one-off part.
But you thinking this is Mike Brewer.
And I'm texting Debbie going, this is like, Mike's gone to great lengths. And it turned out it was, but I said no, and yeah. But that's, yeah.
It wasn't Brewer.
It wasn't Brewer, no.
That's amazing.
So yes, I was offered to be in a movie, yeah.
Daniel Rolfe says, what is the best family car for a car pervert petrol head person?
Volvo Estate. Asked
Volvo Estate.
and answered.
Okay, so you go for the 5-cylinder turbo if you really want to. Would it be the 5? That 5-pot is a lovely sounding motor.
Yeah. I mean, any Volvo Estate's going to work.
Yeah.
But if you want a bit of
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one. Paul Justice says, what does Ant make of the lack of engineering apprenticeships and college, not uni courses? They seem to have died out when I was at college some 30 years ago. So lack of engineering apprenticeships.
Yeah, it's horrendous. In fact, that's one of the motivations behind the TPO was to get kids working. You know, we are in a mental health crisis. Like right now, raising kids is hard because kids have so much pressure on them. And actually, I believe that if a kid finds a purpose or something that they really can get their teeth into, and it doesn't, and it's different for different people. It could be, for me, it was sports when I was a kid, or it could be art, or it could be music, or whatever it is, something that's like I get a lot out of this. Building a car covers so many aspects of what it takes to be a responsible adult, and you can do, you know, if you could send kids away and say, right, you're going to build a car for a month, they're going to come out of that richer.
I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea. I know when I was speaking to Darren about it, you said, you know, it's to also get people involved in it who may think that they're not interested initially. But when they start tinkering, they go, and you get a big sense of achievement if it's sort of laid out in front of you.
It covers everything. It covers community, hands-on tactile, problem solving, heritage, art, engineering, mechanics, physics. It covers everything. Yeah. That you need to be a human that can possibly survive this journey.
That's true. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Sam Horton says, not really a question as such. I just wanted to let him know that he's joint top of my wife Beck's list of crushes, tying with Jason Statham. It would be great to see another.
Bring Jason here right now. Actually, don't bring Jason here right now. He's a very good fighter.
Okay. It would be great to see another series of For Love of Cars with Glenister. They had a good report on the show.
Yeah, I'd love to do that show again. And actually, I think next year is the 10-year anniversary. And Phil and I always joke about it. Let's go do one. And actually, I think someone at Channel 4 tweeted it about 3 or 4 months ago. So, hey, you know, I know Phil would be up for it. I'd be up for it. I'd love to do a little decade
10 years
return.
later.
Yeah, no, it'd be really nice. I bet Phil hasn't changed as well.
I bet he hasn't changed. I bet he hasn't changed at all. Stuart P says, that extra wing on the Escort Cosworth, ?
Brilliant. I'm super proud of that. First Wheeler Dealer episode, it was controversial.
It was controversial.
Yeah, it still divides opinion. But again, you know, we're talking about everything that the car community brings. It brought heritage, engineering, physics. Yeah. You know, it was problem solving. It was, you know, starting with a zero idea and then executing it. Had Frank and it was such a fortuitous first car for me at a time in my life where it could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I'd have come out, hey, I'm here, and it's a Chevette, I think it would have been difficult. But the fact it was an Escort Cosworth, I think universally it's a loved car, and it softened the blow.
It's an icon, isn't it? People are very...
But it's interesting because it turns out that, you know, looking back with the benefit of hindsight, it feels like the perfect kind of PR play because it's so controversial.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation starter. Whether you like it or hate it, and still now, I still get people tweet me about the third wing. Right? But that's great though, isn't it? Because if you can, you know, I'd say 99% of the shows I've ever done are forgotten.
Yeah.
But that is a conversation starter.
Yeah, make memorable content. It was always the thing that, you know, an editor said to me when I was in magazines. Try and make memorable content. You want people to talk about it.
Yep.
For good and for bad.
So for that reason, it worked.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of PR genius.
It was. Christopher Payne and Pearline Payne say, hey, Jonny and co. Thanks for the heads up. Can you ask Ant, apart from when he detached his bicep muscle, I'm still cringing now, it says, has he injured himself whilst filming? What's the most amount of sheared bolts he's had to remove in any given vehicle? Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I had a really nasty injury on Wheeler Dealers. I cut myself. I cannot remember what car it was the MR2. It was the Toyota MR2, and we had the engine out, and I was trying to release a stuck-on coolant hose, and the handle came off my tool. Not Mac, by the way. This is why you should always use Mac. But the handle came off my tool, and my hand. So I'm trying to pull the hose down
with all your body weight,
and there was like a sharp edge, and it just sliced through my hand. And I went straight to ER and had a load of stitches.
That hurts though, those sorts of...
It was annoying as hell, but yeah, that was a pretty bad one. But I think the bicep detachment is probably the worst.
Oh, I mean, I can't...
And then we carried on filming, you know, if you watch Master Mechanic from, I don't know, episode 3 or 4 onwards, I'm in a sling and then a mechanical brace.
Yeah.
And I've still got the scars.
Yeah, it's like a robot arm, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
Robert Wooten says, I love the ethos in bringing Radford back and commend the team on their first car. If they were going, though, to make a true Rad Ford, space between Rad and Ford, what would they do? I would put an engine in from a Focus RS 500 in a Capri with different suspension and paint like Lotus Black and Gold.
Radford is bringing a new, in fact, 18 months ago, we did the second car. We have kept it. I don't know how. There's probably only, I'd say, less than 10 people on the planet that know about it. But it is another car. It is coming. We're working out the timing of when we announce it. We're delivering some customers' cars in the next few months. So I think I'd rather focus on, you know, satisfying and getting the Lotus out properly. And you know, the stuff that goes on behind the scenes in a car company is a lot. And I think the timing, we don't want to go too early. But the car is developed.
Interesting.
It's freaking awesome.
Okay.
I am so excited about it because it's not a supercar. It's not even a sports car.
Isn't it?
No.
Is it a Ford?
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, okay.
I can't.
Okay. All right. Sounds good though.
It's
got things in the pipeline.
Amazing, yeah.
Rob Sizer says, only question I can think of is what was his favourite and least favourite cars from Wheeler Dealers? I once held the door open for him at the Classic Car Show in Birmingham, and he said thanks.
Oh.
That's Robert there.
See, Hollywood. Never say thank you in Hollywood. My favourites, I mean, it's got to be the Cosworth. It has to be my first ever Wheeler Dealer episode. And,
yeah, you won't
such
forget
a. And my least favourite, the TL7.
Yeah?
Terrible car.
What, because they're shitboxes or?
Yes, they're terrible cars. They should never have ever been made.
I agree, actually. Although I quite like the shape of the rear light clusters.
What is wrong with you?
It's as far as it's gone for me.
What is in that coffee cup?
I don't know. The heroin that is easy to get in LA compared to custard.
Yeah. It's a terrible car.
Last two is, David Price, any more for the love of cars? We've already answered that, David, actually. Colin KO, what kind of hair product does Anstead use?
What? I was asked publicly on Twitter if I would represent Just for Men, by Just for Men.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you say?
No. I don't want to be the guy that dyes my hair.
He's the guy. But also now you are grey.
I'm so
and
grey.
Everybody knows you're publicly grey.
I know, exactly.
You can't go back from that, can you?
No, there's no turning back. You can't just turn up one day and be like, hey.
You've got a full head of hair, though.
Thank God.
Yeah?
Yeah, my brothers don't.
Don't they? What,
No.
none of them?
And the weirdest thing is I was a forceps birth, so I have a pointy head.
Ah.
My skull is the shape, I'm basically like a dinosaur. I'm like some sort of pterodactyl under here. So if I lost my hair, I'm going to go in, because I don't like wearing baseball caps.
No, you don't wear caps, do you?
Never, but I would.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be the dinosaur guy that did.
So I always liked wearing caps, and I do wear probably caps a little bit more now since my male pattern baldness.
There's a hat company on this farm.
Is there?
That unit there is a very reputable, very vintage hat company. You should actually pop in there. It's fascinating. They hand make all these beautiful hats.
What?
I mean, I'll never wear one, but unless I lost my hair and I had dinosaur head. I use I mean, I don't really know what it's called. It's like a...
Is it a putty? Is it
yeah,
a wax?
it's kind of like a putty, yeah. But often I don't use anything at all.
Do you?
If I'm filming, because, like, I try and make myself look reasonably presentable, but if you ever watch anything I do, it's never really that presentable.
Oh,
I'm a bit bedhead.
Yeah?
In fact, I'm probably jet-lagged head right now.
Jet lag head, yeah.
But I have gone grey. Fuck.
Robin White, given that he's an ex-copper, does he plan to add a fully restored cop car to his shed at any point in time?
No.
But if it was, it would be a Volvo. Robin White, what is the most car pervert car in his collection? I.e. it's a complete dog, but he loves it because of nostalgia or uniqueness. Well, we've said we don't have a collection.
Not
You've got
really.
a worn dashboard on a Defender.
I do have a heavily worn dashboard.
Which I'm still thinking about that when you've said that with the
Well,
leg.
I'm going to do it in this car. Oh, no, I can't, because Ryan drive.
You can't.
See?
You'd have to...
America.
Yeah.
America allows the Woolarding driving.
Do you like the Woolard driving? That's
the Woolard drive.
Did you used to watch old school Top Gear when you were a kid?
Yeah, I mean, didn't we all?
Yeah, well, I think so.
I like to think so, yeah. There's a process. As a car kid in the UK, you had to follow. That was part of the process.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I remember watching Woolard and Tony Mason doing all the rally stuff.
That's it.
And then, of course, Tiff being Tiff.
Yeah, Tiff just basically still being Tiff.
Tiff's still Tiff, and he's amazing at it.
He's the Benjamin Button.
He is,
just not physically.
But you know what the weird thing about Tiff is like he does not look anywhere near as old as he is.
No, I heard that he's 170.
Oh yeah, he is.
He's a great guy. Yeah. I like Tiff.
He's still got it. I think that's the key thing. He still actually has it. This is the last question, and it's from David Stebbings. No question really, just a big thank you for all that Ant has done for Harrison's Fund. A friend of mine's son has muscular dystrophy, and it means a lot as it's not something that tends to get the limelight. Thank you.
Yes. That is a good time to plug Harrison's Fund as a charity. I'm such a big fan of Alex and Harrison himself. It's interesting because Alex and I are friends, and we both had boys. Archie for me and Harrison for Alex, and they're very similar in ages and in some ways personalities, etc. But the difference between Harrison's genes and Archie's is, it's catastrophic. And survivors, well, there is no survivor of Duchenne. So Harrison will statistically die in his 20s through organ failure. So and Alex is doing so much, and there will be a cure for Duchenne in our lifetime. In fact, they have found a cure in America, and Duchenne kids are now living longer. Okay. European pharma needs to catch up. Yeah. So I'm a huge supporter of that charity. It's interesting, when you're on TV, you get a lot of charities reach out.
You do.
And I'm pretty good with boundaries, so I'm very good at saying, hey, thank you and appreciate it, but I'm aligned with Harrison's Fund. So my coat is on that hanger. Yeah.
Well, I know you've been championing it for a long time. So good for you. They are all of the questions My book is closed. You are free to go and sleep.
Yeah, so I have got time to sleep. I'm going to go look at that Land Rover.
Are you going to go look at the Land Rover, man?
Yeah, as he texted me.
Yeah.